The weight you have been carrying for so long was never proof that your story was falling apart. It only felt that way because you were living through the middle of the chapter instead of reading the ending. There are seasons in life when every setback feels permanent, every disappointment feels personal, and every delay feels like evidence that something has gone wrong. During those moments, it becomes difficult to recognize the difference between a dead end and a plot twist. The pain feels real, the confusion feels real, the loneliness feels real, the exhaustion feels real. Yet some of the most meaningful stories ever told contain chapters that look like failure before they reveal their purpose. Many people reach a difficult season and assume that the struggle itself is the story. They begin to believe that the rejection defines them. They begin to believe that the loss defines them. They begin to believe that the closed doors define them. What they cannot see is that some chapters only make sense after the next chapter begins. If you have been feeling tired lately, if you have been wondering why life has felt heavier than expected, if you have spent nights trying to understand why certain things unfolded the way they did, this message is for you. The challenges you face are not necessarily evidence that you are lost. They may be evidence that your story is still being written. Some of the strongest people carry invisible scars that nobody ever notices. They continue showing kindness while fighting battles nobody understands. They continue encouraging others while secretly searching for encouragement themselves. They continue moving forward despite carrying disappointments that would have stopped many people. You carried burdens that few people ever noticed. You survived moments that looked small from the outside, but felt enormous on the inside. There were days when simply getting through the day required more strength than anyone realized. There were moments when your heart felt tired from hoping. There were seasons when you questioned whether all your effort was accomplishing anything at all, yet somehow you kept going. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. Strength is not always loud. Sometimes strength looks like getting out of bed when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes strength looks like remaining kind after experiencing disappointment. Sometimes strength looks like continuing to believe that life can improve even when current circumstances suggest otherwise. There is a quiet resilience within you that deserves recognition. There is a perseverance within you that has carried you through storms that others never saw. Many people measure success by visible victories, but some of the greatest victories happen in silence. Some of your greatest victories happened in silence when nobody was watching. Nobody applauded when you chose faith over despair. Nobody celebrated when you resisted bitterness. Nobody handed you an award for surviving emotional pain. Yet those victories mattered. They shaped who you became. They strengthened parts of your character that could not have been developed any other way. The seasons that tested you were also shaping who you were becoming. It is easy to admire strength after it has been developed. It is much harder to appreciate the process that created it. Nobody enjoys the uncertainty of a difficult chapter. Nobody enjoys waiting for answers. Nobody enjoys feeling misunderstood. Yet those experiences often become the very things that prepare people for future opportunities, future relationships, and future blessings. Life has a way of teaching lessons through experiences that initially seem unfair. Looking back, many people discover that the moments they wanted to escape became the moments that transformed them. The rejection taught discernment. The loneliness taught self-awareness. The delays taught patience. The disappointments taught resilience. The challenges became teachers disguised as obstacles. That does not mean the pain was pleasant. It does not mean the struggle was easy. It simply means the struggle was not meaningless. Not every battle you fought was in vain. Sometimes people assume that because they cannot immediately identify the purpose of a hardship, no purpose exists. Yet purpose often reveals itself gradually. It emerges over time. It becomes visible through growth. It appears in wisdom gained, compassion developed, and strength discovered. The person you are today is not the same person you were years ago. You have learned things that could only be learned through experience. You have developed empathy that came from understanding pain. You have gained perspective that came from surviving difficulty. These are not small accomplishments. They are evidence of transformation. There is a reason some people become sources of comfort for others. They understand struggle because they have lived through it. They understand disappointment because they have experienced it. They understand perseverance because they have practiced it. The wisdom they offer was not purchased through comfort. It was earned through endurance. Your story contains value even in the chapters you wish had never happened. Your story has value even if it did not unfold the way you expected. Many people spend years mourning the life they imagined, instead of recognizing the beauty that still exists within the life they have. Expectations can be powerful, but they can also become distractions when they prevent us from seeing what is still possible. Sometimes life takes a route we never planned. Sometimes doors close unexpectedly. Sometimes dreams evolve. Sometimes opportunities appear in places we never thought to look. What feels like a detour may actually be directing you towards something you would never have discovered otherwise. There are people who look back at their lives and realize that the moments they once called setbacks became turning points. The failed plan led them to a better path. The rejection protected them from the wrong situation. The delay prepared them for a responsibility they were not yet ready to carry. The hardship developed strength that later became essential. Plot twists rarely feel positive while they are happening. They only reveal their significance with time. That is why faith matters during uncertain seasons. Faith is not pretending everything is easy. Faith is choosing to believe that difficulty does not have the final word. Faith is trusting that meaning can exist even when understanding has not yet arrived. Faith is continuing to move forward when the entire path is not visible. God has not forgotten you during this chapter. The moments when you felt unseen did not make you invisible. The moments when you felt forgotten did not mean you were forgotten. God saw the tears that nobody else noticed. He saw the disappointments you carried quietly. He saw the prayers you whispered when nobody was listening. He saw the moments when you almost gave up, but kept moving forward anyway. There is comfort in knowing that your struggles were never ignored by the one who understands them completely. Many people spend years seeking validation from others, only to discover that true worth was never dependent upon recognition. Your value does not increase when others applaud you, and it does not decrease when they overlook you. Your worth is not determined by popularity, approval, or public acknowledgement. You are worth far more than the moments that tried to make you feel small. The opinions of others can influence emotions, but they cannot define identity. Some people fail to recognize your value simply because they lack the ability to see it. Their inability to appreciate your gifts does not diminish those gifts. Their misunderstanding does not erase your purpose. Their rejection does not cancel your significance. There is something deeply valuable within you that remains valuable regardless of who notices it. Many people carry a quiet sadness because they spent years giving their best and receiving little appreciation in return. They loved deeply, they served faithfully, they sacrificed generously, yet recognition never arrived. If that describes part of your journey, know this: your kindness mattered. Your efforts mattered. Your faithfulness mattered. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. Even when others failed to acknowledge it, the impact remained real. Seeds planted in kindness often grow in ways we cannot immediately see. Encouragement offered to others can leave lasting impressions. Compassion shown during difficult moments can change lives. The value of those actions is not determined by how quickly they are rewarded. As you continue moving through this chapter, remember that stories are rarely defined by their hardest moments. They are defined by what emerges from them. The challenges you face today are not necessarily signs that your future is shrinking. They may be evidence that growth is occurring beneath the surface. They may be preparing you for opportunities you cannot yet imagine. They may be strengthening qualities that future chapters will require. There is a strength within you that kept moving forward even on your darkest days. That strength is still there. The resilience that carried you before can carry you again. The faith that sustained you before can sustain you again. The hope that survived previous storms can survive this one too. One day you may look back on this season and realize that what felt like the collapse of your plans was actually the construction of something deeper, stronger, and more meaningful. You may discover that the chapter you feared became one of the most important chapters of all. Until then, continue remembering that difficult times do not define your destiny. Continue believing that your story is larger than your current circumstances. Continue trusting that your life contains purpose, even when the path feels unclear. The plot twists are not the ending. They are simply part of the journey that is shaping the person you are becoming. If this message encouraged your heart and reminded you that your story still holds purpose, subscribe to the channel and continue walking with a community that believes in faith, healing, perseverance, and hope. Sometimes the encouragement we need arrives right when we need it most, and together we can continue finding strength for every chapter ahead. There comes a point in almost every meaningful journey when the person living the story becomes convinced that the struggle has lasted too long. The waiting feels endless, the answers seem delayed, the effort appears invisible. The heart grows tired from carrying responsibilities, disappointments, and questions that nobody else fully understands. During those seasons, it is easy to look at the challenges in front of you and assume they are obstacles standing in the way of your future. Yet many times, they are not standing in the way at all. They are standing in the middle of the road because they are part of the road. They are shaping you, teaching you, strengthening you, and preparing you for destinations that require a version of you that does not yet exist. This is one of the hardest truths to accept because growth rarely feels inspiring while it is happening. Growth often feels uncomfortable. It feels slow. It feels frustrating. It feels unfair. It asks more from you than you think you can give. It stretches your patience. It challenges your confidence. It forces you to confront fears you hoped to avoid. Yet hidden within every difficult season is an opportunity to become someone stronger than you were before. Think about how many moments you have already survived. Think about the days you believed would break you, but did not. Think about the nights when worry kept you awake. Think about the seasons when you felt isolated, misunderstood, or forgotten. You made it through all of them. Not perfectly, not without scars, not without tears, but you made it through. That matters. Sometimes people become so focused on what still hurts that they forget how far they have already come. They forget the battles they survived. They forget the courage they demonstrated. They forget the strength they revealed simply by refusing to quit. The person you are today is carrying wisdom that the earlier version of you did not possess. The person you are today has endured lessons that transform the way you see life. The person you are today understands things about resilience, faith, patience, and perseverance that cannot be learned from comfort alone. Many of the qualities you now possess were born in seasons you never would have chosen. That is why some of the greatest transformations happen quietly. They happen beneath the surface, while life appears unchanged from the outside. A tree develops roots long before anyone admires its height. In the same way, people often develop character long before others notice their growth. There were moments when you felt like nothing was happening. Yet beneath the surface, something important was taking place. Your patience was growing. Your perspective was changing. Your priorities were becoming clearer. Your understanding of what truly matters was deepening. The challenges were not only testing you, they were teaching you. The hardships were not only exhausting you, they were refining you. Looking back, there may be people you once desperately wanted to keep in your life who eventually walked away. At the time, that loss may have felt devastating. It may have felt like proof that you were not enough. It may have caused you to question your value. Yet with time, you may have realized that not every departure was destruction. Some departures were direction. Some relationships ended because they could not accompany you where you were going. Some connections disappeared because they belonged to a chapter that had already served its purpose. Letting go of those realities is not always easy. Human hearts naturally hold on to what feels familiar. Yet growth often requires release. It requires trusting that what is meant to remain will remain, and what is meant to leave will leave. This does not erase the sadness of loss. It simply allows room for healing. Healing is another part of the story that often gets overlooked. Many people believe healing happens all at once. They expect a dramatic moment when every wound suddenly disappears. Real healing is usually quieter than that. It happens one day at a time, one decision at a time, one small step at a time. It happens when you choose hope over despair. It happens when you choose forgiveness instead of bitterness. It happens when you choose to keep believing that your future deserves your attention more than your pain deserves your captivity. Healing does not mean forgetting what happened. It means no longer allowing what happened to control who you become. Some of the strongest people in the world are not the ones who avoided pain. They are the ones who learned how to carry wisdom from their pain without carrying resentment from it. That kind of strength is powerful. It is quiet. It is steady. It does not need attention to exist. It does not need recognition to be real. It simply continues moving forward. Perhaps one reason you connect so deeply with messages about perseverance is because you know what it means to continue when nobody else understands how difficult the journey has been. You know what it feels like to smile while carrying private burdens. You know what it feels like to encourage others while wishing someone would encourage you. You know what it feels like to keep showing up even when motivation is difficult to find. Those experiences reveal something important about you. They reveal endurance. They reveal courage. They reveal a level of determination that many people never develop because they never faced the same challenges. Your story contains evidence of resilience that deserves to be acknowledged. Sometimes the world celebrates visible achievements while overlooking invisible victories. Yet invisible victories are often the foundation upon which every visible victory is built. Choosing faith during uncertainty is a victory. Choosing kindness after disappointment is a victory. Choosing integrity when compromise would be easier is a victory. Choosing to keep going after failure is a victory. These moments may never appear in headlines. They may never receive public applause, yet they matter. They shape lives. They shape futures. They shape character. They shape destiny. One of the most comforting realizations a person can have is understanding that they do not need to have every answer today. Many people place enormous pressure on themselves to understand everything immediately. They want clarity about every delay. They want explanations for every disappointment. They want certainty about every outcome. Life rarely provides that kind of certainty. Instead, it often invites people to trust one step at a time. This can feel uncomfortable, especially during seasons of waiting. Yet there is freedom in accepting that not every chapter must be fully understood before it can be lived. Sometimes the next step is enough. Sometimes today's faithfulness is enough. Sometimes today's courage is enough. God often works in ways that are not immediately obvious. While people focus on what they can see, He is often working through things they cannot see. He works through timing. He works through circumstances. He works through lessons. He works through opportunities that have not yet appeared. He works through growth taking place inside the heart. This does not mean every hardship is easy to explain. It means your difficulties do not exist outside His awareness. God has not overlooked your journey. He has not ignored your prayers. He has not forgotten the promises you carry in your heart. Even when silence feels overwhelming, His presence remains. Even when answers feel delayed, His awareness remains. Even when progress feels invisible, His work continues. Some of the greatest blessings arrive after long periods of preparation, not because God enjoys making people wait, but because preparation often matters as much as the blessing itself. A person may pray for opportunity while not realizing they are being prepared to handle it. A person may pray for purpose while not realizing they are developing the character required to fulfill it. A person may pray for growth while not realizing growth often arrives disguised as challenge. This perspective changes how we view difficult seasons. Instead of seeing them only as obstacles, we begin to recognize them as part of the process. We begin to see them as chapters contributing to a larger story. We begin to understand that not everything painful is pointless. Not everything delayed is denied. Not everything difficult is destructive. Sometimes, what feels like a setback is actually a setup for something meaningful later. That does not remove every frustration. It does not answer every question. But it provides hope. Hope is powerful because it gives people a reason to keep moving forward. Hope reminds people that current circumstances are not permanent. Hope reminds people that stories continue. Hope reminds people that difficult chapters are still chapters and not conclusions. If you have been carrying disappointment, remember that disappointment is an experience, not an identity. If you have been carrying rejection, remember that rejection is an event, not a definition. If you have been carrying loneliness, remember that loneliness is a season, not a destiny. These experiences may influence parts of your story, but they do not own your story. There is more ahead of you than what has happened behind you. There is more to your life than the moments that wounded you. There is more to your future than the challenges currently surrounding you. The fact that you are still here matters. The fact that you still care matters. The fact that you still hope matters. Every day you continue moving forward is evidence that something inside you refuses to surrender. Protect that part of yourself. Nurture that part of yourself. Trust that part of yourself. It has carried you through storms before, and it can carry you through this chapter as well. One day you may realize that the twists and turns you feared were actually leading you toward deeper wisdom, stronger faith, healthier perspectives, and a future that required everything you learned along the way. Until then, continue walking forward with courage. Continue believing that your life has meaning. Continue remembering that your value was never determined by the approval of others. Continue trusting that the author of your story sees the entire picture, even when you can only see one page. If these words brought comfort to your heart and reminded you that your journey still holds purpose, subscribe to the channel and continue growing alongside others who are learning to walk through life with faith, resilience, healing, and hope. Sometimes the encouragement that strengthens us today becomes the light that helps us keep moving forward tomorrow. One day, perhaps sooner than you think, you will look back at this season from a place of greater peace and realize that many of the moments you feared were ending, your story were actually preparing the most meaningful parts of it. The perspective you have today is limited by the fact that you are still walking through the chapter. You are experiencing the uncertainty in real time. You are carrying the emotions in real time. You are feeling the weight of unanswered questions in real time. Yet time has a remarkable way of revealing connections that were impossible to see while events were unfolding. Suddenly, what once appeared random begins to make sense. The lessons connect. The experiences connect. The delays connect. The hardships connect. The growth becomes visible. The purpose becomes clearer. The story begins to reveal why certain chapters unfolded the way they did. Until that day arrives, it is important to remember that your journey deserves patience. So many people become discouraged because they compare their progress to someone else's timeline. They look at the lives of others and wonder why their own path seems more difficult, more complicated, or more delayed. Comparison has a way of stealing gratitude from the present and confidence from the future. It convinces people that they are behind when they may simply be on a different road. Your path was never meant to look exactly like someone else's. Your challenges are different because your experiences are different. Your lessons are different because your calling is different. Your timing is different because your journey is different. There is peace in accepting that your story does not need to resemble another person's story in order to have value. In fact, some of the most inspiring lives are those that took unexpected turns. The people who eventually become sources of wisdom often arrive there through roads they never intended to travel. The compassion they carry came from suffering. The patience they carry came from waiting. The strength they carry came from enduring. The faith they carry came from trusting during seasons when certainty was unavailable. If everything had happened exactly according to their plans, they might never have developed the qualities that later became their greatest strengths. The same may be true for you. There are qualities within you today that did not exist before your struggles. There is a depth within you that was created through experience. There is an understanding within you that came from surviving what once felt impossible. Sometimes people underestimate how much growth has already taken place because they focus only on what still needs to change. They overlook the fact that they are stronger than they used to be. They overlook the fact that they handle challenges differently than they once did. They overlook the wisdom they have gained. They overlook the courage they have demonstrated. Take a moment to recognize how much you have already overcome. Think about the fears that once controlled you. Think about the situations you believed you could never survive. Think about the disappointments that seemed unbearable. You are still here. That reality deserves respect. That reality deserves gratitude. That reality is evidence of strength. There were moments when giving up would have felt easier. There were moments when withdrawing from the world would have felt safer. There were moments when bitterness may have seemed justified. Yet you continued. Perhaps not perfectly. Perhaps not without struggle. But you continued. That perseverance reveals something extraordinary about the human spirit. It reveals the ability to endure hardship without surrendering identity. It reveals the ability to carry pain without losing the capacity to love. It reveals the ability to face uncertainty without completely abandoning hope. Those qualities are precious. They are worth protecting. They are worth celebrating. Many people spend years searching for evidence that their life matters. They search for proof through achievements, recognition, status, or approval. While accomplishments can be meaningful, they are not the ultimate measure of value. Your worth existed before any achievement and remains after every setback. Your value was never dependent upon how many people believed in you. Your value was never dependent upon how many people understood you. Your value was never dependent upon how many people appreciated your sacrifices. There is something sacred about understanding that your worth is inherent. It cannot be taken away by rejection. It cannot be reduced by failure. It cannot be erased by disappointment. When people begin to understand this truth, they stop allowing every external circumstance to determine how they see themselves. They begin to recognize that difficult experiences may affect parts of their journey without affecting their identity. This realization creates freedom. It creates confidence rooted in something deeper than temporary success. It creates stability during uncertain seasons. If you have ever felt overlooked, remember that many valuable things spend long periods unseen before their significance becomes obvious. Seeds grow underground before they appear above the surface. Foundations are built beneath structures before anyone admires the building. Character develops privately before it becomes visible publicly. Your unseen growth is not wasted growth. Your quiet perseverance is not wasted perseverance. Your private victories are not wasted victories. Every act of courage matters. Every decision to continue matters. Every moment of faith matters. Even when nobody else notices, those moments are shaping your future. One reason difficult seasons can feel so lonely is because people often assume they are the only ones struggling. They look around and see polished versions of other people's lives. They see successes, celebrations, and accomplishments. They rarely see the private fears, private tears, private doubts, and private battles. The truth is that nearly every person carries challenges that remain invisible to others. Many people are stronger than they appear because they have had no choice but to become strong. Many people are wiser than they appear because life taught them lessons they never expected to learn. Many people are kinder than they appear because they understand what pain feels like and do not wish to add to the burden of another person. Perhaps that is one reason your kindness matters so much. Kindness in a difficult world is not weakness, it is strength. Choosing compassion when life has been difficult requires strength. Choosing patience when frustration would be easier requires strength. Choosing understanding when judgment would be simpler requires strength. Never underestimate the value of maintaining a good heart in a world that often encourages hardness. Your kindness matters. Your compassion matters. Your willingness to keep caring matters. Those qualities make a difference in ways that are often impossible to measure. There are people whose lives have been improved because of something you said, something you did, or simply because of how you treated them. You may never know the full impact. Many meaningful contributions remain invisible. Yet invisible does not mean insignificant. God often works through ordinary acts of faithfulness. He works through encouragement. He works through patience. He works through generosity. He works through people who continue doing what is right, even when recognition never arrives. If you have felt discouraged because your efforts seem unnoticed, remember that significance and visibility are not the same thing. Something can be deeply significant without being widely visible. Your faithfulness has value. Your endurance has value. Your story has value. And perhaps one of the most beautiful truths of all is that your story is still unfolding. The chapter you are currently living is not the final chapter. The challenge you are facing is not the final chapter. The disappointment you are carrying is not the final chapter. There is still room for healing. There is still room for growth. There is still room for joy. There is still room for meaningful relationships. There is still room for purpose. There is still room for new opportunities. There is still room for unexpected blessings. Hope remains because the story continues. Every sunrise is a reminder that endings are not the only possibility. New beginnings continue to arrive. Fresh opportunities continue to appear. New chapters continue to emerge. The future may not unfold exactly as you expect, but that does not mean it cannot contain beauty. Some of life's most meaningful gifts arrive in forms we never anticipated. Some of life's most important lessons come from roads we never planned to travel. Some of life's greatest blessings emerge from chapters we once wished we could skip. So continue walking forward. Continue trusting that your life has purpose. Continue believing that your challenges are not the whole story. Continue remembering that God has not forgotten you. Continue recognizing the strength that already exists within you. Continue honoring the resilience that has carried you this far. Continue valuing the kindness, faith, and perseverance that remain part of who you are. The plot twists may have surprised you, but they did not destroy your story. They became part of the story. They helped shape the person you are becoming. And as the pages continue turning, you may discover that the chapters you once feared were actually leading you toward wisdom, healing, growth, and a deeper understanding of how valuable your journey truly is. If this journey of encouragement, faith, and personal growth has spoken to your heart, subscribe to the channel and continue being part of a place where hope is strengthened and purpose is remembered. You do not have to walk every chapter alone, and there may be future messages waiting to remind you of the strength, value, and resilience already living within you.